Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining this session. I have such a distinct honor and privilege to be here with Congresswoman Stevens and Congressman Horsford, two of, I would say, the most august leaders of the House. And what a dynamic year it has been for digital assets in the House, especially in July with the passage of the Genius Act and the Clarity Act, and I feel like both of you had a behind-the-scenes look into what it took to pass those bills in such a bipartisan manner, and to have 78 Democrats join in voting for the Clarity Act. To start, I'd love just to talk about your journey into digital assets. Mr. Horsford, how did you first become interested in crypto and blockchain technology?
Well, first, it's great to be with all of you. Thank you for having us. It's also good to be here with my dear friend and colleague, Haley Stevens, and she and I have worked on a number of important issues from workforce development and economic opportunity, and this aligns with those values. Both of us from really, I call it purple states that are about creating opportunity and expanding economic opportunity, not causing economic uncertainty. And that is what our constituents are calling for. And so how I've become introduced to crypto and blockchain is really around the sense of community and opportunity. And those two align with digital assets and where the future is going. This is about wealth building. This is about more inclusive engagement and helping all individuals from every community be empowered with the information, the resources, to be able to utilize this for themselves, for their family, for their business, and for their communities. And it's one of the reasons that I'm a supporter.
That's amazing. Haley, I know you've always been a driver of innovation and a supporter of American ingenuity. Was there a moment or a constituent or a policy issue that brought you into the blockchain and crypto world?
You know, it's such an interesting thing coming from a manufacturing-rich state. And as my dear friend and colleague just shared, opportunity, equal opportunity, and pathways for wealth creation couldn't be more important. In a place like Michigan, our small business community is centered around capital-intensive industries, our automotive industry, our defense sector, aerospace, and yet there are still opportunities for workers as well as entrepreneurs to get involved and to create and to design and to own. And so for an example, with crypto and our blockchain capabilities, we have our small business community, our suppliers, using the technology for shipment, for management, and we're seeing that make them more competitive and better. And not only in Michigan are we competing to be the best manufacturing state in the country, but we're also competing with the likes of China. And so we want to see the access to the best technologies proliferating and growing our supply chain. And then in addition, because we do have, this entrepreneurial spirit in my state, this is the individual who connects into the technology and is able to grow wealth for their own family, their own self. And I will tell you all right now, in a place called Michigan, I've got building trades workers who are tied in, who are trading, who are doing great things, who are telling me their story. We have a live and well network of 40,000 people led by my friend Elizabeth Hansen. And it's an amazing time in Michigan, and frankly, I wish you all could come out and see, the network and the community and the thriving innovation.
Well, and now is the time for American globalized harmonization in a lot of things. Let me stay with you for a moment. What do you say to a colleague or a constituent who may be skeptical of this emerging technology?
Well, the case in point is, when does an industry ever want to self-regulate? So what we've been able to do, and I'm a good example of this, with the legislation, years going by now, Fit 21 in the last term in the Congress, Clarity and Genius right now, obviously pushing on the Senate to complete the effort, but that we are at a tipping point, and we have to take seriously how the United States of America is going to lead in the fintech space. And I say that as a federal policymaker, as a national lawmaker, but also as a representative from a place called Michigan, that we want to embrace these technologies. We want to have the rules of the road be our rules of the road and not China. And proof is in the pudding with the individuals who are accessing and participating, in addition to those small businesses throughout our manufacturing supply chain.
You said something very interesting about regulatory clarity, and Nevada is, I would say, one of the most growing fintech and emerging technology ecosystems with their own innovators. What do you say to your constituents who are innovating about regulatory clarity in this time?
That it's good for the future. It provides predictability, certainty, it provides consumer protections, and it provides that regulatory framework by which the industry knows the rules of engagement. Nevada is the tourism and hospitality capital, of course Las Vegas, and now the sports capital, I'll say, of the world. But what we got right with gaming, I think, applies here. We're the gold, we were and are still the gold standard when it comes to gaming. But as Haley said, it was because the industry chose to self-regulate. It cleaned up parts of what were not so good about our past, and it provided clear requirements for the players and the users. And because of that, not only has Nevada flourished, but as an industry, we've grown and it's been sustainable. That, I think, is where the opportunity is going forward, and I agree with Clarity and Genius. While they're not perfect, doing nothing provides no certainty, and that is why I was proud to vote for that legislation in the House, and why I hope the Senate will move forward here so that we do know the rules of engagement and we can continue to make progress and to make improvements to that legislation going forward.
And Lauren, wait a minute here, okay? I know this is a policy summit, okay? This is a policy summit, but just on a note of politics, there's a lot of young men whose vote I want, or at minimum, I want to see them get out to vote. And if I told them that I was on this panel with my friend from Nevada talking about the sports capital of America, talking about gaming, and talking about blockchain technology, you better believe that would be a point of entree for them to come out and vote. And that's also what we as Democrats, frankly, need to lean in a little bit more on. These folks who we've been losing, young men of color in particular in Michigan, who just didn't vote last election. This is a way in which, yes, we're setting up guardrails, yes, we're promoting an industry, and we're kind of trying to become cool again, okay?
I'd like to add to that, because we actually had a roundtable in my district on crypto and blockchain, and the participants were all new faces. Yeah. They were a lot of men, a lot of young people, but they were new faces, and they had new perspective. They wanted to know where I was on this issue, and quite frankly, some of them were like, oh, I didn't know you held such strong views in favor of blockchain and crypto, and I think I might reconsider my support based on the positions that you've taken. So I completely agree. This is something that should transcend party, because it's about opportunity. And we cannot leave opportunity on the table. We have to pursue it in every regard and make sure that all of our communities, including Black and Latino and Asian American Pacific Islander communities, are included at the beginning of the process and not left behind or forgotten.
Well, you're just hitting on such a strong point. I feel like going into this election season, affordability is on the top of every single voter's mind. And why are people gravitating toward crypto? There is the US dollar, there is the system, but all of a sudden there's a different access point for economic empowerment for people who may have felt unbanked or didn't have access, and technology brings it to the forefront. And to hear from constituents as you're on the trail, I think it is a great opportunity to be able to have those conversations. And the big part is the technology is nonpartisan. The technology is neutral. And as the vote in the House stood, 78 Democrats came and voted on this for their constituents, for consumer protection. To that point, I would love to talk a little bit about the bipartisan process and where bipartisan collaboration is possible. Can you talk a little bit about what your experience, this is for both of you, we can just jump in, but how was it working in a bipartisan process for this bill, especially when the rest of Congress feels so gridlocked right now?
Well, the Congress is back open, all right? So we got some of this legislation done before the shutdown occurred, which I think was actually really important. And I think it's also important to recognize and still be able to say that it's okay for things to be bipartisan. It's okay for us to come together on new technologies and innovation and wealth creation. You know, Lauren, something you were just saying about the user face and the fact that we live in such a self-directed economy. Heck, even how we listen to music is so self-directed these days. And so these tools and these technologies are empowering. You know, we got, what is the mantra, read, write, own, where I was working in an IoT research lab before I was ever running for Congress. And of course, what did I see across the sector of our, you know, this was manufacturing IoT. What did I see across it? Not anything that was partisan, but competition, the need to win, the need to come out ahead. And so we can see with what you all have spent the last couple of days talking about and working on as an American call to action, and who you're going to find coming together on this in the Congress is what I like to call the Common Sense Coalition, the Common Sense Caucus that really wants to see our country and the American people be able to come out ahead.
Yeah, and I'll just add, like Haley, before I came to Congress, I led the largest job training program in Nevada, the Culinary Training Academy in Nevada Partners. And in addition to training workers for jobs, we also provide financial literacy and home buyer education and now entrepreneurship. And what I've learned over this period of my professional life is people want the same thing. They want to pursue the American dream. And for community, that means being able to make sure that every door is open to them. And you mentioned about the unbanked. In Nevada, just over 6% of Nevadans are unbanked. And across the country, I believe it's over 5.6 million people. That doesn't mean they don't want the tools. It's for whatever reason they don't trust or don't want to navigate traditional financial institutions. That is where blockchain provides new opportunities and new options for people to explore, to be empowered, to have ownership, to have control. And the more we provide financial literacy to them, the more we provide education and connect them to these tools where they are, the more that we show them how they can use this to develop their own business and to solve problems in their own community, that is very empowering. That is about opportunity, and we all should be for that.
Well, I couldn't say it better myself. I think panel over, no. On the day in July when the votes were coming to the floor, can you tell us a little bit about what the energy was like and peel back the curtain for everyone who wasn't in that room up for clarity and genius and what it was like to vote on those bills?
Well, before I would say, you know, both in committee, it wasn't always pretty. And, you know, shoring up votes wasn't always easy. And look, this is new, which means there is a lack of knowledge and awareness by members, by some staff. There's, well, what about this? Are we going to get this right? Or what agency should really be over it? And we tend to get into all the reasons not to do a thing instead of focusing on how to get to yes. And I'm proud to have played a role at the time, both as former chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, but in my leadership role within the House, to make sure that members knew that I was open and accessible to help answer their questions, to have my staff talk to their staff, to break down myths or misconceptions, because that's a part of the process. You don't get members to get to yes unless you're willing to engage them. And I would encourage people, don't count people out. There were people who didn't vote on Fit 21 the first time, but who got there in subsequent bills. And so continue to engage people, continue to engage staff, so that we can continue to make improvement.
Yeah, and I'll say, given that I'm not on the committee that was doing the sausage making, I just walked in with my voting card and said, this is a great day in America, and I cast my vote, and that was it. But it's true, there was a lot of discussion around, particularly, we see it from our side of our caucus and within our party. But something that Stephen just said is so deeply important. I want to reemphasize on the financial literacy component. I've spent a ton of time in the Congress leading STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics engagement efforts from K through 12 to into people's careers. And I always have emphasized the M being tied into our financial sector, our banking sector. In Michigan, we have a robust credit union system. And now what we have with blockchain, and I don't know every single person in this room, but I really want you all to recognize the openings that you have provided for people, the networks that you have created. It is really something special to see on the ground, and that is an equity point. This is something that I have been trying to break down throughout my career to make banking seem less buttoned up or inaccessible to underserved communities. And now we're able to go into places like Detroit, the Metro Detroit area, and bring in new voices. And what Stephen has been doing at the local level, which I just got to learn a little bit more about, I want to now replicate. I want to be having some of these financial literacy sessions and roundtables with individuals, because I think it'll move the needle forward and it provides hope.
It will. What gives you optimism right now in policymaking?
Yeah, well, that's a great dovetail. Look, the other, I've left this out here, but the one committee I do sit on that has made a nice bipartisan difference in this policy-making space is the Select Committee on Strategic Competition between the United States and the Chinese Communist Party. And in the early days of this committee's formation, this was at the top of last term, we sat down with fintech leaders, we sat down with blockchain leaders, and also academics and researchers who said, either we're going to do this as a country and set the rules of the road, or it's going to go to China. And so that rigor of approach has really also led to a ton of bipartisan action that, we call it secret Congress, where we're actually getting things done and having real conversations on the other side of the aisle. Just send me and Horsford over there, we'll get it done. But this call to something bigger, it gives me a ton of hope too. So.
I love that. Well, we have just a few minutes left. Are there any lessons or guidance that you want to leave with the business leaders here, either on digital, what does the future of digital assets look like, or policy making? Any messages that you want this group to take away?
Well, I'm pleased to be working with my Republican colleague on Ways and Means, Max Miller, on our next bill dealing with taxation within the crypto sector, and we're fine-tuning the provisions of that bill and hope to have something out very soon. But I agree that that's the secret sausage making that happens. It doesn't always get a lot of fanfare, but it is about making sure that we have clear policy provisions. The road map is clear for the industry and for consumer protection. These are things that are incredibly important and that people are asking for. And it also helps create more legitimacy. It helps to make sure that digital assets is treated as other sectors are, and to make sure that consumers know their stake in this and the protection of their investment, which I also believe is incredibly important. So I look forward to working with all of you. My door is open, and let's keep creating community and opportunity that's inclusive for everybody.
Here, and certainly the plight of these efforts also breathe through the success of democracy. And so for those of you who are obviously working in a domestic space, but also international, alongside our rules-based, order-following democratic allies, we want to hear from you on that front as well. This is also about the co-development of technologies alongside our allies. As democracy is being challenged worldwide, we want to show the hope, the potential, the opportunity that technology such as this can be empowering and connected to the jobs and the way of the future. So, no pressure, just save the world, guys. But help us continue to do good work as well by hearing from all of you, connecting in through our offices. I'm on LinkedIn, all right? You can send me a LinkedIn. The thought leadership pieces I got put on blockchain kind of listservs very early on with the technology, and that's been helpful to me as well as a policymaker going forward. But your voice is also deeply important, as you're oftentimes representing a lot of the individuals who are connecting into this technology and the digital asset. So thank you.
Well, no, thank you. Thank you both for your time and your insights, and thank you to the Blockchain Association for having us. And here's to the rest of the 119th Congress. Thank you.